The year is 1942, in a dense, fog-shrouded forest in northern Germany. Here, time is measured not in hours, but in the slow, agonizing beat of a heart struggling to stay warm. Before the sun even considers rising, a piercing whistle cuts through the thin air of the barracks, a sound that rips you from a shallow, shivering sleep. Your eyes open to the familiar darkness, the scent of damp wood, unwashed bodies, and despair hanging heavy in the air. The rough, splintered planks of the bunk dig into your back, a constant reminder of where you are. Around you, shadows stir dozens of women, skeletal figures wrapped in thin, ragged uniforms, rising like ghosts from their tiered bunks. There is no conversation, only the rustle of threadbare cloth, the soft coughs that echo in the frigid silence, and the collective groan of bodies pushed beyond their limits. Each movement is a battle against the gnawing cold that has seeped into your bones, a cold that feels permanent, a part of you now. You pull on your worn-out shoes, your fingers stiff and numb, your breath clouding in front of your face. Another day has begun. The morning roll call is a study in endurance. We stand in ragged lines in the muddy yard, the misty rain beginning to fall, turning the ground into a soupy mess that seeps through the holes in our shoes. The guards, cloaked and impassive, walk the lines, their dogs growling softly, their breath visible in the dim morning light. We stand motionless, our heads bowed, the cold rain plastering our thin hair to our skulls and trickling down our necks. The wait feels endless. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. Some women sway, their bodies too weak to remain upright for so long. A quiet sob is stifled nearby. You focus on the feeling of the cold mud squelching between your toes. Anything to distract from the hollow ache in your stomach and the trembling in your legs. The hunger is a living thing inside you, a constant, dull pain that has long since replaced any other feeling. Finally, the count is over. The whistle blows again, a signal to march. We are herded out of the main gate and into the forest, our feet sinking into the muddy path, the tall, silent pines looming over us like ancient, indifferent judges. The work is relentless, a meaningless cycle designed to break us. Our task for the day, for every day, is to move heavy stones from one pile to another and then back again. The forest floor is a chaotic landscape of mud and rock. The stones are slick with rain and moss, their sharp edges cutting into our raw, calloused hands. Your muscles scream with each lift, a fire that spreads from your shoulders down to your lower back. The guards watch from a distance, their figures sparsely obscured by the thick fog that clings to the tree. There's no purpose to this labor, no end product, just the exhausting, repetitive motion of lifting and carrying. The rain becomes heavier, a persistent, cold downpour that soaks our uniforms until they cling to our skin like a second, icy layer. You watch the woman next to you stumble, the heavy rock falling from her grasp and splashing into a puddle. She doesn't cry out, she just stares at it for a moment, her face a mask of exhaustion before slowly bending to pick it up again. We are shadows moving through a gray, wet world, our spirits eroding with every stone we move, every drop of rain that falls. Lunch is a brief respite that offers little relief. We are given a tin bowl of thin, watery soup, barely lukewarm, with a few stray pieces of turnip floating in the murky liquid. We huddle together under the dripping trees, trying to shield our bowls from the rain, gulping down the meager sustenance as quickly as we can. The soup does little to quell the gnawing hunger, but it's a momentary warmth that spreads through your chest before the cold reclaims its territory. You look at the faces around you, once vibrant and full of life, now hollowed out, their eyes vacant. These were teachers, mothers, artists, and students. Now, they are just numbers, their identities stripped away along with their strength. You see a woman sharing a piece of her stale bread ration with another who looks close to collapse. It's a small act of defiance, a flicker of humanity in a world designed to extinguish it. These silent gestures are our only rebellion. The quiet bonds of shared suffering are only solace. But even these moments are fleeting. The whistle sounds again, sharp and impatient, and we are forced back to our piles of stone, the brief warmth in our bellies already fading. As the afternoon light begins to fail, the fog thickens, swallowing the forest whole. The world shrinks to just you, the mud, and the stones. Your body moves on autopilot, a machine running on its last reserves of fuel. Your mind, however, begins to drift. You think of a warm kitchen, the smell of baking bread, the feeling of a soft bed. You remember the sound of laughter, the touch of a loved one's hand. These memories are both a comfort and a torture. They are a reminder of a life that feels like it belonged to someone else, a lifetime ago. A sudden shout from a guard jolts you back to the present. A woman has collapsed, her body a crumpled heap in the mud. Two others rush to her side, but the guards are faster, dragging her away without a word. We are ordered to keep working. We don't look, we don't speak, we just lift the next stone, our hearts heavy with a grief we cannot express. Her absence is a new, raw wound in our thinning ranks. The forest seems to press in closer, the silence deeper, amplifying the sound of our own ragged breathing and the steady thud of stone against stone. The day ends as it began, with the shrill cry of a whistle. The march back to the barracks is a slow, shuffling procession of exhausted bodies. The mud seems to pull at our feet with greater force now. Each step and monumental effort, the lights of the camp flicker in the distance, a cruel imitation of a welcoming beacon. We are stripped and searched at the gate, our shivering bodies exposed to the biting wind as the guards look for any contraband, any hoarded crust of bread. The humiliation is just another layer of the cold that settles deep within us. Back inside the barracks, we are given our final meal, another bowl of watery soup and a small piece of dark, hard bread that you have to gnaw on. We eat in silence, the scraping of spoons against tin bowls, the only sound. There is no energy for conversation, no will to speak of the day's horrors or the woman who didn't return. We are isolated in our own private miseries, sharing a physical space but trapped in the solitary confinement of our own minds. Night falls, but it brings no peace. Sleep is a luxury we can rarely afford. The cold is at its most vicious after the sun goes down, a physical presence that crawls under our thin blankets and settles in our joints. You lie on the hard bunk, curled into a tight ball, your teeth chattering uncontrollably. The wind howls outside, rattling the thin walls of the barracks, finding every crack and crevice to send its icy fingers through. You listen to the sounds of the night, soft weeping of a woman in the bunk below, the hacking coughs that rack the bodies of the sick, the distant barking of the dogs, and the steady, rhythmic pacing of the guards on their patrol. You close your eyes and try to force yourself to sleep, knowing that you need the rest to survive another day of labor. But your mind is a relentless tormentor, replaying the day's events, the faces of the guards, the weight of the stones. In this profound darkness, surrounded by the silent suffering of others, you feel an overwhelming sense of being erased. It's a slow, methodical annihilation, not by bullet or blade, but by cold, by hunger, by work and by the crushing, unending silence of the night. You wonder how many more sunrises you can endure, how much more your body and spirit can take before they, too, are finally broken. And you know, with a chilling certainty, that this is exactly the point. This is the slow death they have engineered for you, a death without a sound, a story that may never be heard. But we must hear it. We must remember these nights, these days, these women. Their story is not one of grandeur or epic battles, but of the quiet, brutal struggle for survival in the face of systematic dehumanization. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but also a stark warning of how easily that spirit can be ground down day by day. In the silence of a forgotten forest, the whispers of suffering carried on the cold German wind must become a roar in our collective memory, ensuring that no one is ever forgotten again. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe for more stories that need to be told.